Good morning, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege and an honor for Friends of Cancer Patients, United Arab Emirates, to host you on this day, the 31st of January, in our smiling Emirates, the Emirates of Sharjah, UAE Cultural Capital and Friends of Cancer Patient HQ. We will today take a journey together to turn the tide on HPV and cervical cancer. It's my privilege and honor to welcome you and to welcome Her Excellency Sausan Jafar, Chairperson and President of the Board of Friends of Cancer Patient, United Arab Emirates, to give the opening remark for today. Your Excellency.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Your Excellency, Dr. Hussein Abdurrahman Al-Rand, Undersecretary of the Ministry of Health, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. On behalf of Friends of Cancer Patients and our partners, I would like to sincerely thank you all for coming and joining us here today. We warmly welcome those of you who have come from near and far to be part of this significant forum on HPV and cervical cancer in Sharjah. Today marks an important day in our fight against cervical cancer, and we are pleased to welcome regional and global experts and key decision makers on health policy, cancer prevention, and vaccine implementation, who together will address growing concerns over the rise of HPV-related disease rates across the Middle East and North African region. Already the cause of death to many women in the MENA region, cervical cancer, alarmingly, is set to have even higher mortality rates in the future. Far too many women are falling victim to this preventable disease. To lose precious human life to a vaccine-preventable disease is indicative of the enormous gap that must be filled by global disease prevention and cancer control advocacy systems. Needless to say that in doing so, time is of the essence. I strongly believe that the solution lies in all of us, working together in concert and sharing expertise, which is the most effective way to achieve our objective. If we are able to do this, we will surely eliminate cervical cancer from the UAE, the region, and indeed globally. There are proven preventive methods. The World Health Organization recommends the introduction of HPV vaccination and strongly advises that countries proceed with nationwide screening of all women aged 30 to 49 years. The UAE has been on the forefront in tackling the HPV and cervical cancer epidemic. Our journey to reduce HPV-related diseases started back in 2008, when Abu Dhabi Department of Health rolled out the HPV vaccine in schools. Another major development in 2018 came about with the UAE Ministry of Health and Prevention's countrywide rollout of the HPV vaccine, while the Abu Dhabi Health Authority, Abu Dhabi Department of Health made an important announcement about rolling out a DNA testing project. With these measures in place, the UAE continues to play a key role in the global movement to address HPV and a range of other preventable diseases. With January marking Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, Friends of Cancer Patients in its 20th year is proud to collaborate with our partners, the Ministry of Health the United Nations Population Fund, East Mediterranean Non-Communicable Disease Alliance, and Sharjah Health Authority, Dubai Health Authority. We are really proud to collaborate with them to organize this forum, which will take stock of the UAE's best practices in tackling HPV, and hopefully together we will make a strong case for increased national and regional collaboration to save lives. Collaboration is key to addressing the menace of HPV and cervical cancer. On behalf of Friends of Cancer patients and our partners, I thank you again for attending this important forum and look forward to continued discussions on how to turn the tide on HPV and cervical cancer in the Middle East and North African region. I trust that today marks a renewed thrust in our journey of increasing regional and global awareness in the prevention of HPV and cervical cancer. Together, we can really boost efforts in tackling HPV-related diseases through a comprehensive and collaborative approach. Thank you for listening, and I wish everyone great success in this important endeavor.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for the pearls of wisdom and insightful words. And now it's my honor and privilege to welcome His Excellency Dr. Hussein Abdurrahman Al-Rand, Assistant Undersecretary of the Ministry of Health and Prevention and the leader of the Higher National Committee on Immunization in United Arab Emirates. Dr. Rand, please.
الرحيم الأخوة والأخوات. First of all, excuse me, my speech will be in Arabic, so sorry for the people who cannot follow my speech. الأخوة والأخوات، الزملاء الأفاضل، الضيوف الكرام، يسعدني أن أرحب بكم باسم وزارة الصحة ووقاية المجتمع في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، وأن أنقل إليكم تحيات معالي عبد الرحمن العويس وزير الصحة ووقاية المجتمع. إن تطوير النظام الصحي لوقاية المجتمع في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة من الأمراض المعدية والسيطرة عليها والوقاية من انتقال العدوى هو أحدى الأولويات الاستراتيجية لوزارة الصحة ووقاية المجتمع. ونجتمع جميعا اليوم لمناقشة أهم القضايا الصحة العامة بهدف دعم وتقوية برنامج مكافحة سرطان عنق الرحم، وذلك بإدخال لقاح فيروس الورم الحلمي البشري ومكافحة سرطان عنق الرحم ضمن الخدمة المقدمة. نشكر بداية قرينة صاحب السمو الشيخ الدكتور سلطان بن محمد القاسمي عضو المجلس الأعلى حاكم الشارقة، وسمو الشيخة جواهر بن محمد القاسمي الرئيس الأعلى للأسرة في إمارة الشارقة، ورئيسة مكافحة السرطانات في جميع أنحاء العالم، لما لها من دور مهم جدا في دعم ورعاية ومكافحة أمراض السرطان، ليس هنا في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة ولكن في جميع دول العالم. يعتبر عدوى فيروس الورم الحلمي البشري شائعا بين النساء، حيث يزيد إصابة احتمال أكثر من 3/4 النساء المتزوجات مرة واحدة على الأقل بحياتهم، وبالغالب تكون العدوى ذاتية الحد وغير ضارة. وإذا ما استمرت العدوى بأحد أنواع فيروس الورم الحلمي البشري ستكون سبب بحدوث سرطان عنق الرحم، حيث لفيروس الورم الحلمي البشري المقدرة أيضا على إحداث أنواع سرطانات أخرى خطيرة، والتي سيتم ذكرها لاحقا باليوم العالمي من قبل الخبراء والمختصين. تشير إحصائيات منظمة الصحة العالمية بأن هناك 1.2 حالة سرطان متصلة بعدوى سرطان HPV، ويعتبر هذا عبء كبير عالميا. وعلى الرغم من أن معدل الانتشار في دول إقليم شرق المتوسط يعتبر قليلا نسبيا، إلا أن إحصائيات المنظمة تدل على حصول حوالي 8000 حالة وفاة سنويا في الإقليم مرتبطة بهذا المرض. لقد أثبتت الدراسات العلمية أن أنجح طرق الوقاية من سرطان عنق الرحم تكمن بتوفير اللقاحات المتطورة ضد فيروس الورم الحلمي البشري، حيث يعتبر التطعيم بلقاح سرطان عنق الرحم من الاستراتيجيات العالمية ذات الفعالية وبالوقاية. فبنهاية عام 2015 أعلنت منظمة الصحة العالمية عن قيام أكثر من 65 دولة بإدراج لقاح سرطان عنق الرحم في برامجها الوطنية للتطعيم، وكذلك فعلت دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة في سنة 2018. وعليه فقد أوصت منظمة الصحة العالمية بإدخال لقاح ال HPV في البرنامج الوطني للتطعيمات على أن يعطى للفتيات ما بين عمر 9 و14 سنة على جرعتين بفارق 6 أشهر، وهي أكثر استراتيجية فعالة للحد من العدوى. كما أن إعطاء المطعوم بتغطية 80% قد يؤدي إلى التخلص من العدوى مع عدم وجود أعراض جانبية لهذا الفيروس بناء على التقارير الصادرة من منظمة الصحة العالمية. كما لا يفوتنا ذكر مدى أهمية برنامج فحص سرطان عنق الرحم الدوري، حيث حقق تغطية عالية على مستوى الدولة، ويشمل إجراء الكشف الدوري للنساء من أجل التعرف المبكر على من يعانين من حدوث تغير بالخلايا المبطنة للرحم، حيث يسهم الكشف المبكر بالحد من تطور مراحل الإصابة بسرطان عنق الرحم بنسبة تزيد عن 80%. من الجدير بالذكر أن إمارة أبو ظبي قد أدخلت هذا اللقاح منذ أكثر من 10 سنوات، لذا كان من الضروري إدراج هذا اللقاح المهم بالبرنامج الوطني للتحصين في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، وتحقيق أهداف الاستراتيجية العالمية للاستئصال من سرطان عنق الرحم. وكلنا فخر اليوم بهذا الحدث، حيث سنعمل مع الشركاء بالهيئات الصحية لتحقيق أعلى مستويات النجاح المطلوبة لهذا اللقاح الجديد. وننوه هنا إلى أن القيادة الرشيدة في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة بقيادة صاحب السمو الشيخ خليفة بن زايد آل نهيان رئيس الدولة حفظه الله ورعاه، وأخيه صاحب السمو الشيخ محمد بن راشد آل مكتوم نائب رئيس الدولة رئيس مجلس الوزراء، وأعضاء المجلس الأعلى حكام الإمارات، قد نوهوا على أهمية المكافحة ومقاومة الأمراض، ليس هنا فقط في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة ولكن في جميع أنحاء العالم، لما لدولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة من باع طويل في المساهمة في المكافحة. لذا يعتبر أهم أهداف لقائنا اليوم هو التركيز على رفع الوعي والتواصل بالنسبة للقاح سرطان عنق الرحم، حيث أنه يعتبر لقاح فريد من نوعه، لأننا نعلم جميعا أن هناك تحديات بالمجتمعات، لذا نهدف إلى ضمان خطة التواصل الاستراتيجي ذات جودة عالية. ونتمنى للحضور والمشاركين الاستفادة من هذا المنتدى. وأخيرا أشكر جميع من ساهم في إنجاح هذا المنتدى لما له من أهمية، وشكرا للحضور، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Your Excellency Dr. Hussein, for your amazing speech. I would like also now to welcome Her Excellency Ms. Amal Al-Qatari, Head of Health Insurance in Department of Health in Sharjah Authority, United Arab Emirates. Your Excellency.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحضور الكريم، أهلا وسهلا بكم. تحرص دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة بشكل عام وإمارة الشارقة بشكل خاص للمحافظة على صحة الفرد والمجتمع، وذلك من خلال وضع الخطط والبرامج والسياسات بالإضافة للمبادرات الصحية التي تتلائم مع الرؤية المستقبلية للدولة بتحقيق الهدف نحو مجتمع صحي. تسعى هيئة الشارجة الصحية في وضع استراتيجية واضحة لتقديم أفضل مستوى إطار دقيق وواضح تحكمه الأنظمة للارتقاء بصحة الفرد ضمن برامج صحية التي تسهم في نشر الثقافة الصحية والوقائية والعلاجية وإعادة التأهيل ضمن قنوات متعددة، وبتوجيهات سامية من صاحب السمو الشيخ دكتور سلطان بن محمد القاسمي عضو المجلس الأعلى حاكم الشارقة حفظه الله ورعاه، لتطبيق منظومة التأمين الصحي لموظفي ومتقاعدي حكومة الشارقة وأفراد أسرهم بالجهات الحكومية، بإضفاء مزيد من المزايا الممنوحة للموظف والذي يترتب عليه تخفيف الأعباء والتكاليف، باختيار أفضل الممارسات التأمينية والمتخصصة في هذا المجال بالتعاون مع الجهات المعنية. في الإمارة لتوفير خدمات صحية متميزة تتسم بالجودة والكفاءة، مما له دور في تعزيز النظام الاجتماعي الذي يقوم على التعاون والتكافل بين الأفراد. وتشمل المنظومة التغطية التأمينية في معالجة الأمراض السرطانية والفحوصات المبكرة المتعلقة ببعض الحالات السرطانية، ومنها سرطان الثدي وسرطان القولون وغيرها من السرطانات، وبما يتوافق مع الأنظمة المعمول بها في وزارة الصحة. ومن جانب آخر تم إصدار بطاقات الرعاية الصحية لكبار السن من أهالي إمارة الشارقة ومنتفعي دائرة الخدمات الاجتماعية وذوي الاحتياجات الخاصة لتلقي العلاج بمستشفى الجامعة بالشارقة لجميع الخدمات الطبية، وكذلك معالجة الأمراض السرطانية والفحوصات المبكرة. وإيماناً من الهيئة بأهمية البرامج التثقيفية والتوعوية، تم توقيع مذكرات تعاون استراتيجية مع جميع جهات طبية مختلفة في الدولة، وتم تفعيل المبادرات المختلفة على مدار السنوات السابقة لفحوصات الكشف المبكر عن الأمراض السرطانية والأمراض المزمنة والسارية، مما له أثر فعال في صحة الفرد. وما يمثله المنتدى اليوم ما هو إلا تجسيد حقيقي لجميع الجهود المتضافرة ما بين الجهات الحكومية المحلية والاتحادية، وبالتعاون مع جميع القطاعات في الدولة لتوفير أفضل الخدمات الصحية. والله ولي التوفيق، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Your Excellency Amal. And last but not least, and we always save the best for last, I would like to welcome His Excellency Dr. Shabil Sahbani, Regional Advisor on Productive Health in the United Nations Population Fund. Dr. Shabil.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين. معالي الدكتورة سوسن جعفر، Chairperson and President of Friends of Cancer Patients. معالي الدكتور عبد الرحمن الرند، Assistant Under Secretary of Ministry of Health and Prevention. معالي السيدات والسادة ممثلي الجهات الحكومية بدولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، السيدات والسادة معالي ممثلي وممثلات الجهات الغير الحكومية بدولة الإمارات العربية، السيدات والسادة ممثلي وزارة الصحة ببعض الدول العربية، السيدات والسادة من المجتمع المدني والوسط الأكاديمي والمنظمات الغير الحكومية ومنظمات الأمم المتحدة والقطاع الخاص، أيها الحضور الكريم، تحية طيبة. يشرفني ويسعدني باسم صندوق الأمم المتحدة للسكان مكتب الإقليمي للدول العربية أن نكون معكم اليوم للمشاركة في هذا اللقاء الهام الذي يجمع مختلف المتدخلين في مجال الصحة الإنجابية وبالخصوص سرطان عنق الرحم، بما فيهم فاعلين حكوميين وغير حكوميين وأكاديميين وقطاع خاص ومنظمات دولية. وأود في البداية أن أتقدم بالشكر لكل من ساهم من قريب أو من بعيد في التحضير وإنجاح هذا الملتقى الهام، وأخص بالذكر فريق عمل أصدقاء مرضى السرطان ووزارة الصحة بدولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، وهيئة الشارقة الصحية، وهيئة الصحة بدبي، والاتحاد الإقليمي للأمراض غير السارية، وأصدقائنا من الجلوبال هيلث استراتيجي، والزملاء من صندوق الأمم المتحدة للسكان. السيدات والسادة الأفاضل، تكتسي أشغال هذا المؤتمر أهمية كبرى، إذ أنه يشكل فرصة مهمة لمناقشة أحد التحديات في المنطقة العربية والتي تواجه بخاصة المرأة العربية في إطار تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة 2030. ولعل المشاركة الواسعة والرفيعة المستوى التي يعرفها هذا اللقاء لخير دليل على الأهمية البالغة والدعم المتواصل والاهتمام الكبير الذي يحظى به هذا الموضوع. القضاء على سرطان عنق الرحم، وذلك المساهمة في إرساء وتحقيق التغطية الصحية الشاملة وأهداف التنمية المستدامة 2030 وإعلان القاهرة 2013. ونحن نحتفل هذه السنة بالذكرى بالذكرى 25 للقضاء المؤتمر الدولي للتنمية والسكان القاهرة 1994، وتجدر الإشارة إلى أن برنامج عمله حدد هدف حصول الجميع على خدمات الصحة الإنجابية بما فيها الوقاية والعلاج من سرطان عنق الرحم، بوصف هذا الهدف مرمى إنمائيا وجعله غاية للنظم الصحية في بلدان كثيرة. ويشكل هذا اللقاء بالنسبة لصندوق الأمم المتحدة للسكان، حيث نحتفل كذلك هذا السنة بالذكرى 50 لإنشائه، مناسبة لتعزيز الشراكة المثمرة التي تجمع مع وزارة الصحة العربية والمؤسسات الغير الحكومية والمجتمع المدني، التي ترتكز على برنامج عمل استراتيجي يجري تنفيذه منذ عدة سنوات. السيدات والسادة الكرام، ارتفع عدد الوفيات السنوي جراء سرطان عنق الرحم الذي يسببه فيروس الورم الحليمي البشري HPV بضعفين في السنوات السبع الأخيرة، ومن المرتقب أن يرتفع بالضعفين مرة ثانية في 20 سنة القادمة إذا لم يتم اتخاذ الإجراءات المناسبة. وأخص هنا بالذكر الوقاية وتعميم التطعيم ضد الفيروس الورمي الحليمي البشري والفحص المبكر للنساء اللاتي بلغن من العمر 30 سنة أو أكثر. وفي حين أن العديد من الدول عبر العالم وضعت برامج وقاية متينة مثل أستراليا التي ستعلن في أفق 2028 القضاء تماما على سرطان عنق الرحم وفيروس HPV. أغلبية دول المنطقة العربية لم تضع بعض استراتيجية وبرنامج محكما وشاملا للقضاء على هذا المرض على المستوى الوطني. وهنا اسمحوا لي بالذكر أو بتذكير 3 إجراءات محددة التي أشارت إليها منظمة الصحة العالمية. أولا، يجب اعتماد التطعيم ضد فيروس HPV اللي هو فيروس الورم الحليمي البشري، ويكثف استخدامه من أجل ضمان تغطية عالية في صفوف الفتيات البالغات من العمر 15 سنة فما أكثر. ثانياً، يجب اعتماد فحص فيروس الورم الحليمي البشري، ويكثف استخدامه على النساء بين 30 و 49 سنة. وثالثاً، يجب تعزيز إمكانية الحصول على خدمات التشخيص المبكر لسرطان عنق الرحم وعلاجه، وأن يضمن توفير الرعاية الملطفة. وأفضل طريقة لتحقيق هذه الأهداف هي ضمن إدراج التطعيم والفحص والعلاج والرعاية الملطفة في حزم الفوائد الصحية في إطار التغطية الصحية الشاملة. أخيراً، يجدد صندوق الأمم المتحدة للسكان امتنانه وشكره للشركاء بدولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة على هذه المبادرة، ونتمنى أن يحقق هذا اللقاح النجاح المرغوب فيه للجميع، مما سيؤدي بالتأكيد إلى توصيات من شأنها تسطير آفاق العمل المستقبلية المشتركة واستفادات الدول المشاركة والأمة العربية ككل. أشكركم على اهتمامكم، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shibil. And on that note, you mentioned your 25th anniversary. And I have a small surprise for everyone, because Friends of Cancer Patient is celebrating 20th anniversary this year. And in the spirit of that celebration, we always, and that's the leadership, our distinguished leadership and Her Excellency, Mrs. Sousan Jafar, we like to share always. And FOCP 20-year journey is in safeguarding the community from the evils of cancer has been continuously fueled by the distinguished effort of our long-standing partners. We are proud to honor 4 of them today with the very special Friends of Cancer Patient Awards that bear a special seal of our 20 years anniversary. This milestone that we have together, that we have crossed together, and on this note, I would like to welcome Her Excellency Mrs. Sousan Jafar to the floor to honor our distinguished partner for our 20 years and for their effort in promoting and preventing cervical cancer in the United Arab Emirates. For our first awardees, for their distinguished effort in promoting the cervical cancer vaccine and making it available to all UAE, the Ministry of Health and Prevention in United Arab Emirates, His Excellency Dr. Hussein Abdurrahman Al-Rand, Assistant Secretary of Ministry of Health, United Arab Emirates. Our second awardee for today is, of course, Sharjah Health Authority, represented by Her Excellency Ms. Amal Al-Qatari, Head of Health Insurance Department, in their distinguished effort in putting cervical cancer prevention and screening as part of the health insurance policy. Our third awardee for today is the Department of Health in Abu Dhabi, represented by Dr. Shahad Al-Ghazali, Section Head of Cancer Prevention and Control, Non-Communicable Disease Department, Public Health Division, in their pioneering effort in cervical cancer for the past 10 years in United Arab Emirates. And saving the best for last, Department of Health Authority in Dubai, represented by Dr. Badriya Al-Hamri, Director of Public Health Protection Department, and also their distinguished effort in promoting cervical cancer awareness in the community in the Emirates of Dubai. I hope you're not fed up of me, okay? So bear with me, okay? I'm gonna chair the next session. So I think this is maybe overdose of me for today morning, so bear up with me, okay? So our first part of today will be the current landscape and best practices of HPV and cervical cancer. And first and foremost, I would like to personally thank each one of you present here today who taking the time to be part of this important forum on turning the tide on HPV and cervical cancer. Once seemed far in the future, now a reality, the human papilloma vaccine has been mentioned by Her Excellency Sultan Jafar last year in the UAE when UAE celebrated the 10-year anniversary of the implementation of the HPV vaccine in several schools by the Department of Health in Abu Dhabi, crossing a milestone in efforts in reducing HPV-related disease. On this last day of January, the month marked by countries around the world to raise cervical cancer awareness, I'm thrilled to share the stage with international speaker who will get the ball rolling on the forum's first discussion session, Current Landscape and Best Practices of HPV and Cervical Cancer. For the next 40 minutes, the session speaker will offer background on the burden of disease and shed lights on tools available to prevent cervical cancer. First up, Dr. Shabil Sahbani, Regional Advisor on Reproductive Health, UN Population Fund, who will be offering a detailed overview on the burden of disease in the MENA region, shedding light on specific prevention, screening, and treatment efforts that had been made to tackle the growth threat of cervical cancer in the region. Dr. Shabil.
Okay, thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good morning, Sabah al-Khair marra tanya. So, dear colleagues, I was asked to make a presentation today on the burden of cervical cancer and the burden of HPV in the Arab region. It's not an easy task because it wasn't easy to get data. But still, I will try to go very quickly through a quick introduction. Then I will give an overview about the burden of cervical cancer in the Arab region, then the link between cervical cancer and the HPV, and then maybe we will talk a bit about the HPV vaccine, and that's why we are here today, and then few takeaways. So, as you know, we talk about the Arab region or the Middle East and North Africa region. But the reality is that we have so many sub-regions within the same region. We have big differences between different countries. GCC countries are quite different than Horn of Africa. North Africa is quite different than the Middle East. So we have so many differences between the different countries, different sub-regions, and this including when we talk about the epidemiological profile and also the incidence of the diseases, mortality, morbidity, and so on. Just excuse me, I have on the counter just 3 minutes, and I don't think it's feasible to make it in 3 minutes. So I was supposed to have 15 minutes. Is it okay? I hope the mic will not switch off. Thank you. So, you know, an organized program on cervical cancer is lacking in most of the Arab countries, and that's why I was saying that getting accurate data on cervical cancer and HPV is not an easy task. But the available data shows that the incidence rate of cancer in general is increasing, and it's a big burden on different countries. This is something that it's valid for all sub-regions, for Horn of Africa, North Africa, Middle East, GCC countries. It's something that is common for all these countries. Now, the cancer incidence in the Arab countries is increasing. Why is it increasing? Of course, it's due to our habits, to our behavior, like the way we are moving, the way we are eating, but also we are smoking, and also we are using like plastic materials, pesticides, insecticides. But there is also another reason, which is the decrease of the communicable diseases. So the ratio will be different, but also there are some viruses that can cause certain cancers. And here I'm talking about hepatitis, but I'm also talking about the human papilloma virus causing the cervical cancer. Okay, now let's talk about cervical cancer rates. Cervical cancer in most of the countries around the world, and including in most of the countries in the region, it occupies the second place in terms of frequency. But we assume that there is a big underreporting in most of the countries because there is no registry, national registry, and also because the screening program is not that strong in many Arab countries. But still, cervical cancer causes at least 7,601 deaths among women annually in the MENA region. I insisted to keep the one because behind each one, there is a big story. There is a family. There is a family suffering as well. So it's very important. And I think we came today at 9, and we had our breakfast. At that time, 2 women died due to cervical cancer just in our region. So let's keep this in mind. While we are talking here, women, they are dying due to cervical cancer. Incidence and mortality rates across the region can vary between 1.2 and 4.24.8. And here we have few figures. We can see here that, how can I use the pointer? Oops. Okay, no problem. But here, if we look at the absolute figures, we can see that Morocco had 2,465 deaths just in 2018, in addition to 3,388 new cases. Same thing for Turkey, Algeria, Egypt, Iraq. Now, when we talk about the percentage or the rates, the death rate and also the incident rate was quite high in 4 main countries. UAE, 4th position, Libya, 3rd position, Algeria, 2nd position, and Morocco, 1st position. Of course, the rate is comparing to the total population. I will not congratulate the 3 countries or the 4 countries, but this is a call for action. And I'm very happy to be here in UAE because UAE experience, or UAE is a pioneer in cervical cancer, and we have so many countries, and especially these 3 countries, Morocco and Algeria and Libya. We have representatives from Ministry of Health here today to benefit from the experience of UAE. So keep this in mind as well. Between 2012 and 2018, the number of deaths has doubled. Just in the Arab region, it has doubled, which means times 2 in 7 years or 8 years. Here we can see the profile of the region in 2001. So the study was conducted in 2002 and 2004, and we can see the difference between the situation now. Sorry. Yes, here we are. So now we have the incidence of cervical cancer that has increased in most of the Arab countries. Now, when we talk about the death rate, it's also quite high in many countries. And here, the focus is mainly on Mauritania, Morocco, Sudan, and Somalia and Djibouti, the 5 countries with the highest burden. So this is just to say that if decisive action is not taken at the national and regional level, so we can see the rate increasing or doubling again by 2040. And this will give us additional 15,728 deaths per year, which is huge. Think about it, think about the number of families suffering due to this, not only the patients, but also their families. So here we have the estimates. In blue, we have the number of deaths or the estimates of the deaths. And in orange, we have the new cases. And we can see that if no action is taken, there will be a big increase in both, and they will double by 2040, according to the MENA HPV coalition. Now, let's move to the HPV. We all agree that there are so many factors contributing to cervical cancer, like we have the early marriage, we have the sexual activity or early sexual activity, but we all agree that the prime risk factor is the HPV, the human papilloma virus causing the cervical cancer. So almost all cases of cervical cancer can be attributable to this virus. Also, we talk a lot about STIs, but let's agree that the HPV is the most common infection of the reproductive tract, more than the gonorrhea or the syphilis or the HIV or all the rest. This is the most common one. Of course, not all HPV infection will lead to cervical cancer, but still it can be there, and maybe it's not detected. So I think to be able to eradicate the cervical cancer or the HPV infection, it's very important that we invest first in education and the second one in the vaccination. But the problem here is that the acceptability remains controversial. Why? Because always, and here I want to refer back to the 80s and 90s when we were talking about the HIV. And we were saying that HIV means prostitution. HIV means risky behaviors. But the reality is that no one of us is protected 100% if we don't get the vaccine. And this is something to keep in mind. In addition to that, we need a very good education in parallel, and maybe communication as well to avoid such controversial discussions. So as I said before, getting data is very difficult in the Arab countries on the HPV, but still we can say that the prevalence is estimated to be between 0.2% and 4.7% of vaccine-preventable HPV, and mainly the type 16 and 18, which we are targeting mainly. And also, the infection rates are increasing. And maybe we have certain tools to prevent that, but they are not really implemented in our Arab countries. Now, what can be done? First, increasing the HPV vaccination and cervical cancer screening. The second, and here the recommended age is between 9 and 13. And we remember that in 2006, the first HPV vaccine was introduced in high-income countries. And I mentioned earlier Australia, that is on the track to eradicate HPV and cervical cancer completely. But in 2011, Gavi started supporting the low-income countries in introducing the HPV vaccine. But the situation in the Arab region is that we have only 2 countries who introduced the HPV vaccine till now. We have Libya and UAE. And those are the 2 countries who introduce. I know that we have other countries who are willing to introduce the HPV vaccine, including Morocco, and we will have a presentation. So they are planning to roll out the vaccine in 2019, this year, and maybe Algeria also, they have that in their plan, and we will have their presentations later. So, as I said, only 2 countries introduced the vaccine, but in many countries, we have the vaccine available in the private sector. So on demand, of course, so the patients or women or boys, they can go to the pharmacy and get the vaccine and they get vaccinated. But what about the cost? In many countries, the cost of 1 dose is more than $100. It's around $130 a dose, which means if they get 2 doses, it's like $250, which is not affordable. Because in many of the countries, it's not covered by the health insurance scheme, which make it non-affordable for the majority of the population. So, there are a number of countries, they are putting the HPV eradication in their national health agendas, and I talked about Morocco, but maybe we will have the presentation later. Now, just to conclude, few takeaways, and just please keep this in mind, that we have the deaths due to cervical cancer in the MENA region has doubled between 2012 and now. By 2040, if we don't take the necessary actions, it will double again. And this is something which will cause a big burden, not only on the patients themselves, but also on our health systems. So we cannot say that we achieved the 2030 agenda if we are not on track to eradicate the HPV virus and the cervical cancer. So at the end, 2 key messages or advocacy messages. The first one is every woman over 30 should be screened and treated for precancerous lesion. And the second one, all girls are vaccinated against HPV. So please take action now. And thank you for that in advance. Thank you.
The underuse of HPV vaccine is a very serious, as you have mentioned, but correctable threat to progress against the cancer. It's my pleasure to ask Dr. Kamal Fahmy, Medical Officer, Vaccine Preventable Disease and Immunization in the WHO EMRO region in Egypt, to shed the light on this subject.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Good morning everyone. أحب في البداية أشكر منظمي الملتقى للسماح لمنظمة الصحة العالمية المكتب الإقليمي الشرق المتوسط للمشاركة في هذا الملتقى المهم في دولة الإمارات. I have been requested actually to minimize or to make the presentation at the minimum possible. I'll try my best actually, but I'm not promising because it's actually a very important and hot subject that it is dealt everywhere in the whole world and in our region. So we need to understand more to have a successful introduction of this vaccine, which is considered a very special vaccine. It's not as all other vaccines, not only because it's not given to the children, the kids, but it is given to adolescents and specifically for girls, considering the socio-cultural issues in our Arab world. So in this presentation, we'll try to highlight the WHO position on HPV introduction as a key component of cancer cervix elimination, which is a big burden in our region, the global and regional situation of HPV and consideration and challenges in the Eastern Mediterranean region. The WHO position paper for HPV saying that this HPV is a very cost-effective vaccine, though one of the most expensive vaccines. The HPV introduction is a part of a broader strategy related to cancer cervix elimination, which is a 2030 goal in the whole world. And the recommendation is saying that we should focus, considering many, many factors, on vaccination of only girls at this point of time, with 2 doses in the age period of 9 to 14 years, with 6 to 15 months apart, and for girls more than 15 years old to be 3 doses. A lot of documentation is available on WHO website related to the vaccine introduction, and the position of WHO has been updated in 2017, and this is the summary. So the target girls 9 to 14 years of age, 2 doses, 6 months apart, no maximum interval, and with the introduction, it is recommended, however, it is a very big endeavor, is to do a vaccination of multi-age cohort. However, considering some issues for immunocompromised girls is to give 3 doses. If you have a look at the map of the whole world, we'll see that there is a very big inequities as far as non-communicable disease, especially the cancer cervix. This is an estimated age standardized mortality for all ages, and I think my colleague has elaborated much on the cancer cervix in our region, showing that in our region, which is the Eastern Mediterranean region, we are a bit lucky having lower rate than the globe concerning the cancer cervix. This is because of our protective sexual behavior attitudes. This is a comparison between the developed countries and non-developed countries as far as cancer cervix incidence in relation to other cancers caused by the HPV. HPV is not only causing cancer cervix, but it's causing also other kinds of cancers, which are different. In less developed regions, the cancer cervix contribute to 93% out of all HPV infection. However, in more developed countries, it is much, much less, also, again, due to difference in sexual behaviors. We have available in the market 3 kinds of the vaccines: bivalent, quadrivalent, and 9-valent. All of them protect against the most important HPV genotype 16 and 18, which is mainly incriminated in the development of cancer cervix. This is available in WHO position paper with all details of each and every vaccines, about the immunogenicity, about the adjuvant, about licensure, about everything. We don't want to go into details in order to save some time. Again, these are the type of HPV. We have different types, more than 7 types of HPV virus. The 16 and 18s, which are mostly incriminated in the development of cancer cervix, are protected by the 3 kinds of vaccines. Also, the bivalent vaccine protects against 2 other types, which is 31 and 33, through cross-protection. So if we see that we have only 2 types, which is 52 and 58 of HPV, only prevented by the 9-valent vaccine, the most recently introduced in the world and the most expensive one. However, with this graph, we are recommending for introduction either the bivalent or the quadrivalent for most of the countries. We need to look at this slide carefully. This slide shows us how we can tackle this very big problem of cancer cervix through primary prevention, secondary prevention, and tertiary prevention. The primary prevention in our forum today is related to the HPV introductions. We can see that with our introduction of HPV, there is much diminution in the curve of incidence of cervical cancer if it is given. Also, the precancerous lesion by screening and diagnosis and then treatment of the advanced cases would take a later stage. This slide shows us with introduction of HPV successful as per the WHO recommendation would definitely lead to a much significant reduction in the cancer cervix, much more than the screening at a later stage and tertiary prevention with treatment of advanced situation. A lot of work is done to have this curve. A lot of details are also present in WHO documentations showing quite comparison between the effect of HPV introduction versus screening, early diagnosis, and versus treatment. And it shows us that we can reach the target of WHO globally only at the time if we introduce HPV. However, if we only focus on screening, which is very important, early diagnosis very important, tertiary prevention very important, but only focusing on them, we will not reach our target by elimination of cancer cervix by 2030. So we are left with one very important option is introduction of HPV. This is the target of WHO to be implemented, and these are the vision, which is a worldwide without cancer cervix. Eliminate the cancer cervix as a public health problem below the 4 per 100,000. And in order to achieve this goal and vision, we have 3 targets. We have to look at it very carefully, that we have to reach 90% of girls. Please read it again. 90% coverage, not 50%, not 60%. 90% coverage of girls by 15 years of age. 70% of the women screened an HPV test between 35 and 45 years old, and then 30% reduction in mortality from cervical cancer. We have to achieve all the 3 targets in order to be able to eliminate cancer cervix from the whole world in 2030. In order to achieve those very important and I would say ambitious targets, these are our guiding principle, which is the life course and public health approach. For each of the targets, we have an action. Increase coverage of HPV vaccine, increase coverage of screening and treatment, increase coverage and diagnosis treatment for invasive cancer in order to reach the 90-70-30 target. Very important accelerator is needed, and we have to look at them all carefully in order to be able to achieve those goals. This is the most recent Director General of WHO, which has put in place the 3 billion framework of work, which is called General Program of Work 13, which is implemented starting this year, 2019, until 2023. We have to achieve a 3 billion target, 1 billion for healthy population, 1 billion people in health emergencies, and 1 billion attained or covered by universal health coverage. And we all hear all about the universal health coverage, how it should be done, and adopted by all countries in the world. Our target indicator is very clear. The increased coverage to 50%. This is to be achieved by 2023. The 90% coverage we have seen is to be attained by 2030. So we have a target by 2023, which is reaching the coverage 50% of the girls covered by HPV all over the world. Our indicator is the coverage of the human papillomavirus vaccine among adolescent girls 9 to 14 years old. This is our indicator to reach. And this target is under the 1 billion people, 1,000 million people all over the world should reach this target to be covered by what is called universal health coverage. Again, very quickly, to those 2 girls, 9 to 14, minimum 6 months apart, as we have seen in the position paper. Do we have challenges? Yes, we have. What are the challenges we are encountering? We have a limited supply of HPV vaccine. Vaccine is not affordable and high delivery cost. After introduction, please look at it for the countries who will be recently introduced. Emirates will be introducing practically this vaccine. in a couple of months. Morocco will be doing this before the end of the year. After introduction, vaccine coverage is low. We have seen that we need to reach 90% coverage with 2 doses. Very challenging target. Why we are not reaching this high coverage, we'll see. Because we have to choose what will be our strategy. A lot of strategy are recommended. We have to suit the strategy concordant with our country. Insufficient communication, please. We will go for this word again and again. Communication, very sensitive vaccine, very sensitive target age, high cost vaccine. It is not a regular vaccine. We need to have a better strategy for communication, and hopefully we'll not see this, what is called vaccine hesitancy, a very big challenge for introduction. Accelerator. What are the accelerators that we have seen? We have to work on affordable supply of the vaccine, talking to the producer, coordinate with multi-sectors in order to have a successful introduction, increase quality and coverage service delivery. Why all this? Because it is a sensitive vaccine. I see Dr. Ziad is asking for cutting short. I'll try my best, but please, this is the core of our meeting today.
Yeah, I agree.
Vaccine, very effective. If I go to explain this curve, it's gonna got a lot of time. This is Australian experience. Australia gonna be one of the first countries eliminating cancer cervix. You see how the curves are falling after HPV introduction in girls. After vaccine has been introduced to girls in Australia, the problem in boys have declined much. You see these curves, how it's going on in all age category. It shows us how this vaccine is very effective, not only for girls, but for the whole community. Safe? Yes, it is very safe. The WHO Global Advisory Committee on Vaccine Safety said that it is very safe. No side effects. Please keep it in mind because of the vaccine hesitancy group all over the world saying that this vaccine would cause 1, 2, 3, 4. Forget about it. It is a safe vaccine. Countries with HPV introduction in the whole world, all the green. Can we see our region in North Africa, Middle East? It is still white. We have only Libya. We have United Arab Emirates this year and Morocco. We'll have only 3 countries in Eastern Mediterranean region. Algeria is not in the region, but it's part of MENA region. So if Algeria will join again, we'll have 4 Arab countries in the whole world introduce this vaccine. The whole world, we have 85 countries. Only 85 countries out of 194 countries in the world have this vaccine introduced in their routine immunization program. We are not talking about the ad hoc introduction in the private sector, we're talking about the routine immunization. So only less than half of the world countries have introduced this vaccine. You see the HPV coverage, how many countries are having above 80%. Not even 90%. If we count them, we'll find that around 13 countries only out of the 83 have achieved the target coverage, which lead us to know that coverage is still low, even with countries who have introduced the vaccine since long. We see the coverage in France is 14%. The coverage in Portugal is 87%. The coverage in UK is 86%. These are vaccines which are introduced into countries since years and years. How the introduced vaccines are still low. Very quick look at the problem at the global level because of HPV supply shortage. We'll find that in 2018 there is 6% shortage between the demand and supply. The first 2 columns. I'm sorry, I'm not able to use the
Marker.
I'm sorry. The demand in supply, look at this, in 2 to 3 years, until 2021, the shortage of supply will be 32%. The demand will be higher than supply by 32%. A very big problem. However, we are forecasting, because a lot of industry is coming, especially in China, will help to solve this problem, going to a demand of supply which will be decreasing 7%, and then the demand will be less than supply later. So within the coming 3, 4, 5 years, we will be facing a global shortage of HPV vaccine. If we can see this graph, it tells us a lot. This is a graph showing the new vaccine introduction. The new vaccine introduction are the Rota vaccine, the PCV, pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, in comparison to the HPV vaccine. If you see, the Gavi-supported country has 0 in HPV. The middle-income country, Libya, has contributed to 0.7% of the region. The high-income countries, which is Emirates, coming 0.5, giving us a 1.2% coverage in the whole 22 countries of the WHO Eastern Mediterranean region. Imagine a vaccine with an introduction of 1.2% in our region. Huge challenge. So we have put green for United Arab Emirates because it is launched officially. In addition to Libya, we have 2 countries are planning. Morocco is planning this year. Saudi Arabia is asking for, so it will be introduced soon. This is the map of our region. It's unfortunate to see almost all the countries are still in red. I will skip this slide because of the time, showing that the Eastern Mediterranean region is going only to 5% coverage, very low. One of the Eastern Mediterranean Vaccine Action Plan 2016-2020 is to introduce new vaccines. We need, as an action point which has been done in EMRO meeting for all countries, that we should seize all future opportunity. This is one of those opportunities. This forum is one of those opportunities. We have to seize this opportunity in order to advocate for introduction of this vaccine in our region. Lesson learned. This is your plan. You see the bottom guy riding this bicycle? This is a plan. But coming to the real world, it will be like the bottom one. You see? It's not an easy way. Yeah. We have to consider this. What are the factors which make HPV introduction a success? Political commitment. Thank God in United Arab Emirates we have the political commitment. In other countries we don't have it. Accessibility to HPV vaccine, of course, we have to face this shortage in supply-demand equation. Preparation for introduction is a must. Please don't go, any country who didn't introduce this vaccine, don't go for introduction without a very proper preparation. Preparation means 1 year at least for proper work. In all strategic plan, for introduction, for communication, for advocacy, for everything. After we introduce the vaccine, because of the low coverage expected in the beginning, we still need the political commitment. We still need the advocacy. We still need the communication in order to overcome all the bumps that we have seen on the road. We need to sustain a high coverage. These are the factors which led the countries in the world. Apart from the 13 countries, we have another 70 countries which have low coverage because deficiency in introduction and planning, delivery strategy was not properly chosen, insufficient mobilization and communication, I'm repeating, crisis management, there is no plan for crisis management, the social mobilization, communication, advocacy plan, ACSM plan should include a separate standalone plan for crisis management in order to ensure high coverage. These are the global challenges everywhere in the world. We have countries with a lot of side effects, like the CRPS or POTS, ethical problem, mass fainting attack happened in Latin America, ethics in Latin America as well, sexuality, abstinent prostitution in North America, a lot of challenges which led this problem. These are the unfortunate global community doing vaccine hesitancy in all our countries, the Arab countries before the developed countries, because of this. A lot of problems related to HPV vaccine, and that's why we should be prepared with crisis management plan in order to face what is read on the internet each and every day against these vaccines and others. Mass psychological illness in the Middle East. Post-vaccination mass psychological illness has happened in October 1992 in Iran. More than 800 people in Jordan suffered from mass psychological illness because of the introduction of new vaccine, and this happened. This has failed. Why? Because the country were not prepared to face this mass psychological illness. And I said that this mass psychological illness has happened because of the new vaccine. So please, be prepared well. We should be very well prepared while we are introducing our vaccines. This is a study, a meta-analysis done in Tunisia for 9 countries in our region, showing when they tested the ground, if this vaccine is acceptable by the community. They found it acceptable by the parents in 9 countries. Believe me, with a good communication strategy and social mobilization, this vaccine introduction will be a success, but we have to think what is the right approach. The community is accepting it, in contrast to what we see on the internet. In Morocco, we have seen that one of the reasons for non-acceptance, lack of knowledge. So with high acceptance, it's good. But the part which are not accepted, why they are not accepted HPV? Because they know nothing about it. I am telling you, among the medical community, wallahi, among the medical community, half of them, they know nothing about HPV. They don't know what is this HPV, what it causes, how it's transmitted, what the problem, they know nothing. So this is our responsibility, to let them know, to let the community understand the importance of this vaccine.
Dr. Kamal, because we have another speaker, can you wrap it up?
I'm sorry?
Thank you.
Vaccine hesitancy, a whole document for HPV communication. Please consider it. A whole training module on the WHO website. How we gonna advise stakeholders? What we do, the AAA, these are the stakeholders. When we communicate with them, we'll succeed. This is a CDC brochure in Arabic. لقاح فيروس الورم الحليم البشري ما تحتاج إليه. A very simple piece of information that has to be studied and delivered to the people. We have regional challenges, of course. We have socio-cultural values in most of the country preventing this vaccine. Vaccine hesitancy group coming on. The inequity in coverage. The inequity means the demographic and coverage difference between the geography, the wealth levels, and so on. And we have difficulty in reaching the target if we don't have a strategy. These are the regional challenges in details. I'm sorry for being very late. I'm deeply sorry, and thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to call for Dr. Alfredo Polo. Thank you for being on time. Radiation oncologist, International Atomic Energy Agency. Thank you, Dr. Polo. He will be discussing the role of radiation therapy in cervical cancer treatment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On my behalf of also my upper management for this kind invitation to participate in this important forum and also to present the work that the IAEA is doing in the field of cervical cancer. I will talk about the role of radiotherapy in the tertiary prevention of cervical cancer, but let me spend just 1 or 2 minutes talking about the International Atomic Energy Agency. It has more than 60 years of history. It has been established in 1957 as a hub for acceleration and enlarge the contribution to the atomic energy in all fields of human life, including health and prosperity throughout the world. More than 60 years of history. 6 departments. Some of these departments are dealing directly with cancer. There are other departments dealing with other elements, other applications of nuclear energy, but a strong support for dealing with non-communicable diseases, and especially cancer and cervical cancer in particular, a whole division of human health with 4 sections for nuclear medicine and diagnostic imaging, radiotherapy, medical physics, and nutrition and health environmental studies. We deliver different services to the member states. We deliver from coordinated research projects to a big technical cooperation program trying to implement and to transfer technology to developing countries. We do a lot in terms of education and training. We provide laboratory services. We provide laboratory services for countries who wanted to ensure that the QA, the quality assurance programs in their national radiotherapy programs comply with international standards. We have, of course, a joint agreement with WHO, giving this complementarity of the 2 mandates between WHO and the IAEA more in terms of the role of radiation medicine and its application to especially cancer management. Now let me play a bit with the words, because we are not just turning the tide, but this is not a high tide, it's really a tsunami what is coming, as has been presented before by my peer speakers. We have seen this slide before, this picture. You have here the incidence of cervical cancer in the different regions. Huge pockets of high incidence in different regions of the world, and a high mortality to incidence ratio, meaning that many of the women with cervical cancer die of cervical cancer, and this is really very important and a very big challenge. And it's very important to note that it's not only the incidence, but the presentation of the disease, the staging of the disease. In green here you have the proportion of patients having advanced disease at presentation. Those are results from population-based registries in low and middle-income countries, and you see that in many cases more than 50% of the patients present with advanced disease at the presentation, and this has profound implications for treatment. This is a very busy slide, but presents 2 messages. First is that over the years we have had better results in terms of disease control using radiotherapy. This is the first message. And the second is that the results in terms of control are strongly influenced by the stage at the presentation. Women with early disease present much better outcomes after radiotherapy than women presenting with advanced disease. And this is very important and has profound implications for the treatment. But not only from an individual perspective, from the patient perspective, but also to the population perspective. There is a population benefit of radiotherapy. And using the right methodology, we can calculate in each setting and in each region what is the population benefit. This is just an example, and this is for Australia, using this methodology for the case mix in Australia. I will skip this and probably this to show that with the case mix of a high-income country like Australia, we have an overall benefit of radiotherapy in the treatment of cervical cancer of almost 20%. And this is much more important when we have patients with more advanced disease, more than 30% absolute population benefit for patients treated with radiotherapy. So radiotherapy has a huge impact on the results, on the quality of life, and also on the socioeconomic impact of the disease. Another very important element is this one. Technology means better results. If you apply modern technologies up to the graph, you get better results. So you have to plan and invest in modern technologies or in advanced technologies to have very good results. But this has an implication in the cost. Modern technologies, of course, mean more cost, and of course, to put in the context of the different regions. Here you see the health expenditure per capita in high-income countries, upper middle, lower middle, and low-income countries. And you see that there is a huge difference, one order of magnitude, 2 orders of magnitude between high-income countries and low-income countries, 1 order of magnitude between high-income countries and upper middle-income countries. This is a huge barrier for implementation because all the studies coming from evidence-based medicine studies are basically coming from high-income countries. So we present the evidence as if this evidence can be implemented as is by every country in the world. But this is not true because this is really the biggest barrier for implementation of these technologies. And this population benefit will be, of course, influenced by this rate of implementation. So we need more tools. We need an analysis based on health economic tools to put in context the cost and the outcomes, and also to apply certain methodologies for finding the right way to implement these new technologies. But radiotherapy is not as costly as it could seem. Here we have had an exercise for lower middle income countries, and we present here in this table the cost of a full course of radiotherapy per patient and the cost of a full course of high technology per patient. And if you do the maths, you will see that the incremental cost effectiveness is only $26 per 1% increase in overall survival. So for a typically 20% increase in overall survival, this is less than $1,000. So it's very cost effective. WHO has included radiotherapy for cervical cancer as one of the best buys in the latest list. So radiotherapy is expensive, but not as expensive as it can seem, and has a very deep impact on the population benefit. So to conclude that, there are several conclusions. First is radiotherapy is very effective. Cervical cancer is preventable, but it's also curable with radiotherapy. We can prevent thanks to the vaccines, but we can cure many patients with infiltrant cervical cancer. So this is a strong message. The second, that we need a cost effectiveness analysis to implement these technologies in lower and middle income countries, and also to mention that the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, is doing a lot of effort to work together with our partner organizations, sister organizations in the UN system, and also with the member states to assure that this treatment can reach to all women that could need it. So I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Paulo. Please have a seat. Thank you very much. Also before time. I think our panel this morning is quite diverse, because we're speaking about the landscape, where Dr. Shabil, you spoke about the statistics and you gave us the, I would say, alarming figures of if we don't take action by 2040, again, cervical cancer mortality and death will double. And Dr. Kamal, I couldn't get enough of your presentation, to be honest, because you touched upon very sensitive issues that, frankly, in United Arab Emirates, we actually experienced at the end of 2018, where there was a mass media, especially in social media, anti-cervical cancer vaccination campaign that happened. And unfortunately, as you said, it's all about communication at the end of the day and how to come back on those kind of negative kind of messaging. There are some doctors who don't even believe in that. There are a few doctors, MDs, who are advocating against the HPV vaccine. And Dr. Polo, you gave us a huge insight about, you know, what Dr. Kamal said, the tertiary prevention of cervical cancer, which is the treatment itself. And on that note, I believe we have 10 minutes. I'll open the floor, the question for the floor, if anybody have a question. But I have a question before. I'm always nosy. I think one of the themes for this year, and Dr. Abtihal, you will agree with me on this, is universal health coverage. It's everybody's talking about it, everybody's speaking about it, it's everywhere now, it's one of the key words and the key messages everybody's promoting. But I think, how can we make universal health coverage serve cervical cancer, or how can we make cervical cancer prevention, and especially HPV vaccine, be part of universal health coverage? I mean, how can that be, the two of them be integrated? Please. Dr. Kamal, Dr. Subhi.
Yeah. I'm sorry because my
Mike, yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's activated. Thank you very much. Actually, the issue of universal health coverage is really universal. Everybody is talking about it. And I would say, initially, without deep analysis, that we have two opportunities in universal health coverage. Number one, the introduction of the vaccine under universal health coverage will take a platform for introduction of this highly specific and unique vaccine. Unless it is covered with an umbrella or a very big platform like universal health coverage, will not be able to ensure high coverage. The second one is the screening. Universal health coverage is including, as a basic package, is the screening of women, which is now mandatory in most of the countries. Although it is in some countries covered by health insurance, in some other countries is not, but it is a must. Screening now is not only for cervical cancer, for most of the cancers. And the age of start of screening is changing every day, because it has been shown that early screening for diseases, especially for cervical cancers, would ensure high approach for better treatment and better success. So I think these two elements, if they are included, at least at this point of time, under universal health coverage, I think we will be able to reach the goal by 2030, which is elimination of this disease.
Excellent, because usually when people speak about universal health coverage, usually cancer and cervical cancer is really on the lower priority list.
Exactly,
Yes. We have people think, or if I say maybe politically, from a political point of view, from an economic point of view, people will actually prioritize more important diseases. That is actually also costing a lot of money for the economy. But I believe that that's a very good insight, Dr. Kamal. Dr. Shabil?
Yeah, thank you. Is it working? Yeah, thank you very much. And I think it was very well addressed by my colleague from EMRO, from WHO. But I want just to add on that. When we talk about universal health coverage, we have two big dimensions. The first one is the accessibility, and the first one is the affordability. Yeah. So I think, as it was rightly said, it's very important to have the HPV vaccine and the detection and also the treatment of the cervical cancer included in the health insurance schemes. So this is one part. The second part is about the accessibility and how to get the service. Of course, we are talking about the availability of the service, but here I want just to highlight one thing, is the integration of the services. Please don't make the same mistake to have a vertical program, because otherwise it will never work. It should be integrated in the SRH package and maybe in the primary healthcare package as a whole, because we have so many missed opportunities. A lady coming, a woman coming for family planning, she should benefit from cervical cancer screening. A lady coming for counseling for breastfeeding should benefit from the same service, or at least the counseling for the service and for the vaccination. Thank you.
Thank you. And on that note, in Friends of Cancer Patient, we have a very popular initiative for breast cancer screening. And when we purchased our first ever mobile van that has a mobile machine, a mammogram, we actually created a small pap smear clinic at the van, because again, it's the same population of women that you're serving, and we're advocating that the women uptake that service because it's a free of charge as well. Dr. Paulo, do you have an insight on universal health coverage? And
Yes. The Lancet Oncology in radiotherapy for cancer control also call for action about universal health coverage, and also has a target of 80% coverage of radiotherapy in universal health coverage programs by 2030. The problem here is that radiotherapy, you have to differentiate between coverage based on the number of machines the country has and access to these services. Because in the case of radiotherapy, is the patient who has to come to the radiotherapy center to get the service. It's not like a vaccination program where you can reach to the population. This is different and creates additional challenges or problems. But again, yes, at a very high level, the access to radiotherapy in universal health coverage programs is pretty much a very important goal for the community in radiotherapy. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Paulo. I believe we have 4 minutes for the floor. Anybody has a question?
Good morning. Thank you very much for the 3 presentation. It's excellent. You have set the scene for what is really available, and it seems that there is a huge work has been done in this area, and the know-how is there, and it's available and clear, and there is a commitment, and there is a target, and everything is set very well for elimination of cervical cancer. My question here, as 3 UN agency, how do you see you are working together to, pass over these huge challenges in the region? Specifically, you have said it very clearly, there is very low coverage, low action in the region. So I need to see how do your plan to work together as a UN agency to achieve that target?
Please. Yeah, please. Or if you have universal answer, that would be fantastic. Please.
Well, I think there is...
What I meant...
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
No, I think there is a universal answer because all the 3 agencies here are a part of the UN Joint Global Program for Cervical Cancer Prevention and Control. So the sister organizations in the UN system are fighting together and putting efforts together to try to give a coordinated approach to the problem of cervical cancer. Morocco has been part of the initial group of 6 countries, having inception missions from the team of the different agencies, and those inception missions serve to create individualized work plans for each countries. Countries in Africa, in Asia, South America are part of this initiative. So I think there is some kind of common approach to the problem. I don't know if you have something to add about this initiative.
Yeah, just few words. Talking about how we're going to work. Actually, we have a framework. WHO has set a framework for the 194 countries in the world. We have a strategy. It's a flagship program for WHO. We have to have these 3 indicators, these 3 targets achieved, and we have an indicator for each of them. So if I'm focusing on the HPV, which to me, it is the most challenging one. It is, as I said, it's a unique vaccine which needs a specialized, customized approach. So now we have an indicator to reach. Without reaching this indicator, we will not be able to achieve this disease in 2030. It's very easy and clear. I want to tell you one thing. If we are introducing HPV in our 22 countries, this doesn't mean that we're going to reach the target, because we have to achieve the desired coverage. I'll tell you an example. Now we are talking about measles, right? Measles is introducing everywhere since 20 years, and we have a coverage, but we don't have this 95% goal. That's why we are not able to eliminate measles. That's why measles is coming back in the United States. That's why measles is coming back in Europe, because we are not reaching that level. So introduction is one step, but reaching the desired level is second step.
Thank you, Dr. Kamal. I know the time is finished for us, but if I'm allowed, I will allow for one more question just because it's media and you guys are our arm in communicating directly to the community. Again, good communication. So please, media, Marisol, please.
Yeah. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Maricar from the Gulf today. Please explain, sir, especially Dr. Kamal Fahmy from the World Health Organization. I just want to know, why is it that the immunization program against cervical HPV is only implemented on women and on girls now, not on equal footing with the boys? You know, adolescents, we are, adolescent children, we're of the same age, we have the same mindset, everything is, going, what adolescents go through. Why not implement the vaccination program for boys and girls at the same time?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Sorry, I didn't have enough time or opportunity to go into details about the vaccination approach. Actually, you have seen in the WHO recommendation, WHO position paper in that, it is recommended for boys and girls, but because of two issues. Number one, the accessibility and reaching the target coverage of 90%. Number two, the global supply shortage. These are the two factors which are leading the WHO recommending the vaccine for the time being to be introduced only to girls, knowing that introduction to girls will prevent the disease, or it will affect the whole community, as it has been shown in one of the slides. And also in the same time, you are not able to recommend for boys and girls because the countries will not be able to get what they want of the vaccine because of the global shortage of supply.
So in another way, if we have the will and we have the money, we could actually vaccine boys and girls. That's not an issue because that's the recommendation.
Yes, this is coming from the perspective of high-income countries.
High-income countries.
But this is not the case everywhere in the world.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Fahmy. And thank you, everyone. I would like to thank my esteemed panelists, Dr. Paulo, Dr. Kamal, Dr. Subhi Shabil. And thank you, everybody, for this. And I'm happy to announce that we have a 15 minutes coffee break. Thank you.